is DWBR of the Philippine Broadcasting Service. 104.3 on FM. Music and talk. Nice and easy. The time is 12 o'clock. Good afternoon. Here is the 12 o'clock edition of the Network News. The Philippine National Police, or PNP, has adopted a security plan for tomorrow's anti-pork barrel prayer vigil at the EDSA Shrine. The National Capital Region Police Office, or NCRPO, is taking into account Monday's Zamboanga City gun battles in its preparations for the September 11 event. As part of the security plan, police officers are to inspect backpacks at the EDSA Tayo prayer vigil. The Wednesday, September 11 EDSA Tayo activity is a follow-up of the August 26 anti-pork barrel gathering at the Luneta in Manila. NCRPO Chief Marcelo Garbo said they do not want a repeat of the Boston Marathon bombing at the EDSA Tayo event. A backpack was used to conceal pressure cooker bombs in the Boston Marathon bombing earlier this year. Police units in the area are also prepared for the possibility of a spillover from the Zamboanga City clashes. President Benigno Aquino III sees no need to declare a state of emergency in Zamboanga City. The chief executive does not expect tension to escalate. Marie Louise reports.
In an interview, the president said more than sufficient government troops are in the area to ensure the safety of civilians. He's not setting a deadline to finish the conflict with the MNLF forces. The president is in constant touch with the Crisis Management Committee, and Interior Secretary Mar Rojas always gives him regular updates. The president also said the Organization of Islamic Conference and Indonesia are cooperating with the Philippines. Marie Peña Ruiz for PBS News.
A pre-dawn exchange of gunfire between government troops and Moro National Liberation Front, or MNLF gunmen, heralded the second day of the crisis in Zamboanga City. Shots were heard at the Santa Barbara village, where MNLF snipers were reported to have occupied a building. The exchange of gunfire escalated by 7:20 a.m. Rocket-propelled grenades and mortars were being fired at government troop positions. Also early today, military helicopters flew over MNLF-held positions in the village of Santa Barbara. The Zamboanga police clarified the estimated 300 civilian hostages as of yesterday evening were actually stranded residents of communities who could not flee because of fear of getting caught in the crossfire. Also, security checkpoints were still in place to prevent the reinforcement of the MNLF gunmen, as well as preventing them from withdrawing. The Philippine National Police has asked Philippine National Police Region 9 to look into the possible lapses that led to the present standoff in Zamboanga City. Alvin Baltazar reports.
Office of the Chief PNP spokesman, Senior Superintendent Wilben Mayor, said that they would coordinate with PNP Region 9 Director, Chief Superintendent Juanito Valio, and from there determine where in the aspect of intelligence gathering they committed some lapses. The Armed Forces of the Philippines, on their part, remains firm in their earlier stand that there was no failure of intelligence. This is contrary to the PNP, who expressed willingness to look into their possible shortcomings that resulted to the present unpleasant scenario in Zamboanga City.
We will check with the Regional Director, Chief Superintendent Banyo, if there are any lapses that were committed by the ground troops. And from that, we'll move on.
Office of the Chief PNP spokesman, Senior Superintendent Wilben Mayor. Alvin Baltazar for PBS News.
Less than 24 hours after a low-pressure area exited the Philippine area of responsibility, another low-pressure area is approaching Mindanao from the east. Pagasa forecaster Manuel Mendoza said the low-pressure area may be codenamed Odette if it strengthens into a cyclone. He said the low-pressure area was estimated 1,210 kilometers east of Mindanao, embedded along the intertropical convergence zone across southern Luzon, the Visayas, and Mindanao. Pagasa said Palawan, the Visayas, and Mindanao may expect cloudy skies with light to moderate rain showers and thunderstorms. Metropolitan Manila and the rest of the country will have partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers or thunderstorms. Meanwhile, moderate to occasionally strong winds from the east will prevail over extreme northern Luzon, and its coastal waters will be moderate to occasionally rough. As the tension in Zamboanga City seems to be escalating, the chief of the Philippine National Police is nowhere to be found. Again, Alvin Baltazar reports.
According to spokesman at the office of the Chief PNP Senior Superintendent Wilben Mayor, PNP Chief General Alan Purisima is out of the country for official business. However, Mayor assures that Purisima is strictly monitoring the situation in Zamboanga City and is giving orders to the concerned commanders on the field, one of which, Mayor said, is the directive of Purisima to create an incident management which aims to swiftly resolve the crisis. Yesterday, DND Secretary Walter Gasmin, AFP Chief General Emmanuel Bautista, and the ILG Secretary Maroas fled to Zamboanga City to personally assess the situation there. Alvin Baltazar for PBS News.
Two more countries have advised their nationals in the Philippines to take precautions in the Zamboanga City area in the wake of a standoff between the government forces and the Moro National Liberation Front, or MNLF, there. The United Kingdom advised its citizens in the Philippines to avoid traveling to the Zamboanga area following Monday's deadly clash there. In an update to its travel advisory, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office also advised British nationals already in Zamboanga City to remain indoors and keep safe. Canada also reiterated its advice against travel to parts of Mindanao, including the Zamboanga Peninsula. Earlier, Australia and the United States also discouraged their citizens from traveling to the Zamboanga area. Senator Alan Peter Cayetano believes that filing cases against those involved in the pork barrel scandal would prove the Aquino administration's determination in punishing unscrupulous individuals who target government funds. Jojo Ismail reports.
Cayetano said that all personalities behind the pork barrel scam should be held accountable and face charges for abusing government funds. It is important that these individuals be prosecuted to show the administration's determination in ridding the country of corruption, he added. The majority leaders stressed that the Filipino people want not only for the truth to come out, but also for those proven guilty to pay for abusing funds that could have improved the lives of the poor. Cayetano said that the people are always complaining that the administration has brought no charges against those implicated in past scandals like the NBN ZTE deal or the fertilizer fund scam. We need to hold these people accountable, and we need to make sure that the case we file against them is tight, he added. For PBS News, George Ismael, Senate.
The police in Davao City are on heightened alert since Monday following a clash between government troops and the Moro National Liberation Front, or MNLF, in Zamboanga City. But Davao City Police Chief Ronald De La Rosa said there should be no cause for alarm. De La Rosa said they were intensifying their intelligence gathering efforts to make sure there would be no spillover of violence. Davao City Mayor Rodrigo Duterte met with MNLF members in Davao City and told them he did not want violence. In the meantime, Zamboanga City Mayor Isabel Salazar ordered a curfew on her city amid the clashes. Regional Director Chief Superintendent Marcelo Garbo of the National Capital Region Police Office announced that all its units will go on full alert tomorrow as part of the efforts to secure the EDSA Shrine Prayer Vigil against pork barrel. More from Alvin Baltazar.
Garbo said that 500 cops of Quezon City Police District are set to be deployed, while another 500 cops will be on standby and ready for deployment in the area Garbo, together with the district commanders of Metro Manila yesterday, met with officials of the MMDA led by Chairman Francis Tolentino to know each other's preparations for the EDSA Tayo rally. The NCRPO chief added that the EDSA Tayo rally will not be as big as the 1 million march stage at Rizal Park in Manila, as he expects only 5,000 to 6,000 individuals in the rally as per report. Alvin Baltasar for PBS News.
The Moro National Liberation Front, or MNLF, has released early today at least 6 residents, including 5 children, on the second day of a standoff with the government troops in Zamboanga City. The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, said the MNLF released 5 children and 1 adult in Barangay Talon-Talon. The MNLF had taken more than 200 people hostage in Zamboanga City yesterday. But earlier today, the Zamboanga Police clarified that the estimated 300 civilian hostages as of yesterday evening were actually stranded residents of communities who could not flee because of fear of getting caught in the crossfire. Senator Miriam Santiago, a former regional trial court judge, says under the Anti-Plunder Act, after a preliminary investigation, if the prosecutor decides to file a case in court, lawmakers involved in the pork barrel scam will be automatically suspended from the Congress. Again, Jojo Ismail reports.
Santiago said that if the prosecutor decides to file the case in court, the senator or representative who is accused of plunder will immediately be suspended from Congress under Republic Act number 7086, also known as the Anti-Plunder Act of 1991. Any public officer facing criminal prosecution that is pending in court shall be suspended from office. Once the case is filed in court, the first thing that the judge will do will be to conduct a so-called bail hearing to determine if the evidence is strong against the accused, in which case they will not be entitled to bail. If the evidence of guilt is strong, the accused lawmakers will have to stay jailed during the course of his trial, Santiago said. The law defines plunder as the accusation of ill-gotten wealth in the total value of at least 75 million pesos, committed both by the public officer and by any person who participated with him, and plunder is punished by life imprisonment and perpetual disqualification from holding any public office. For PBS News, George Ismael, Senate.
Heavy fighting continues as armed members of the Moro National Liberation Front, or MNLF, loyal to Nur Miswari, unleashed rocket-propelled grenades against advancing government soldiers in Zamboanga City. National Defense Secretary Voltaire Gazmin, Interior and Local Government Secretary Manuel Rojas, and Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP Chief of Staff Emmanuel Bautista, are in the city to help local officials and military commanders resolve the ongoing crisis. The city government said additional government troops had arrived at the Edwin Andrews Air Base this morning. The resumption of skirmishes started as early as 1 a.m. today in the barangay Rio Hondo, where over 100 MNLF rebels tried to break through a line of Navy forces positioned along the coastline. Energy Secretary Carlos Petilla reiterated the need to establish an electricity reserve market to avoid power shortages in case of a frequency imbalance. Albert Sebastian reports.
Petilla said there is an urgent need to set up a policy because up to now, the Energy Regulatory Commission, or ERC, has not approved it yet. Petilla said a reserve market could help avoid power shortages such as the May 8 and July 3 Luzon-wide blackouts. He also earlier said it is within the realm of the Energy Regulatory Commission, or ERC, the power sector regulator, to monitor the performance of the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, or NGCP, and whether it is complying with its franchise contract and performing within standards. Petilla said frequency imbalance in the country's power grids, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, could be addressed by having a reserve market. This is Albert Sebastian reporting for PBS News.
Moro National Liberation Front, or MNLF fighters, have taken a Catholic priest and his family hostage In the city of Zamboanga, as sporadic fighting continued in several villages. A neighbor of Father Michael Ufana said MNLF rebels barged into the house of the priest in Santa Catalina village and took him hostage, including his sister and father. Heavily armed rebels have taken positions in civilian neighborhood throughout the night and making it extremely difficult for security forces to launch an assault to free the hostages. Government negotiations with the MNLF were also continuing, but the details of the talks remain unknown. The Moro National Liberation Front, or MNLF, tried to attack vessels docked at Zamboanga City's port. The Philippine Coast Guard said two explosions occurred near the port this morning. The Coast Guard said a mortar hit the water just 1 meter from the Coast Guard station. With the incident, the Coast Guard had some of the docked vessels moved. Sea travel at Zamboanga City was still suspended due to the standoff between the government and MNLF forces. Police and Task Force Zamboanga personnel prevented around 30 armed members of the Moro National Liberation Front, or MNLF, from joining their comrades. Zamboanga City Mayor Isabel Salazar said some 30 armed MNLF members tagging along civilians as human shields from Manpang were monitored proceeding to Santa Catalina to support their comrades. However, they were blocked by the police and task force personnel manning checkpoints in the area. Security checkpoints were put up in place to prevent reinforcement of the MNLF gunmen who held positions in Barangay Santa Catalina, Santa Barbara, Talon-Talon, and Rio Hondo. Finally, the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, secured all high-rise buildings in Zamboanga City's commercial center in case the crisis involving a standoff with the MNLF, or Moro National Liberation Front, worsens. The AFP said the move is in preparation if ever the situation escalates. Earlier today, government forces had targeted a building in Barangay Santa Barbara, believed used by the MNLF snipers. And with that, we conclude the 12 o'clock edition of the Network News. This is Bon Vibar reporting.
This is Business Radio.